What's up? Welcome to the Confluence.VC podcast. This podcast is meant to give you a personal glimpse into the next era of investors and operators. This week we had on Dustin McCaffree with Marvel. Marvel helps businesses outsource their content creation, and it specializes in blogs and other forms of written content. We use them for a lot of our content, and we would recommend them to anybody listening to this. In this talk, we discuss winning the SEO game, why every company is becoming a media company, and overcoming bottlenecks as a founder.
Yo, everyone, welcome to the Confluence.VC podcast. Today we have a great guest as part of our founder and startup series, which is going really, really well. And this one happens to be one that we hold near and dear to us because we use it ourselves. We actually pay for it and have no sponsorship. So welcome, Dustin from Marvel.so. It is an awesome platform for automating and optimizing your blog creation. Dustin, why don't you say what's up and tell the world how how you got here, and two, how you're helping us make Confluence a better place.
Yeah, hey, thanks for the intro. You said it better than I really could myself. I think, the pitch on the business is pretty straightforward, right? Because everybody needs a blog, and so I think every company is seen as a media company today, no matter what you're doing, and so blogging is a big part of that. This content creation. So it's been awesome having you guys as early customers here, but. I guess starting back at the beginning, so I was studying marketing in school, and it was all right, but I wasn't very traditionally interested in school, and so as I was studying marketing, I got interested in entrepreneurship and ended up teaching myself how to code because I didn't want to pay anybody to build a website for me, like for any of these entrepreneurial sort of ideas that I had, and so I ended up going into just like online, finding as many resources as I could to build my own website, and ended up getting sucked into this sort of, to me, coding is like building with Legos, but also learning a language at the same time. So it's like every new word that you learn, like in a language, but then you get to use each word as a building block. And so I like got sucked into this. I ended up loving it way more than I ever thought I would. And so that was sort of the start of my journey. I had marketing background in school, but then ended up learning how to code. I was kind of torn between these two worlds. I ended up dropping out of school because once I knew how to code, it just felt like a piece of paper to me. And so then I went into engineering after I tried all these sales jobs, and it wasn't really my thing. And so then I ended up getting a job as a programmer. I never thought I would get paid to do that. I just kind of learned it for fun. And then that completely changed my world. And pretty quick after that got into, again, like I was only employed for maybe a year and a half before jumping on my own again. Started an agency where we did design and development after quitting my job after about a year and a half. And then ended up starting a startup where we raised a bunch of money. It was in the restaurant industry, and moved from there into then the pandemic hit. Wasn't great in the restaurant industry, so our whole business collapsed. Moved back into doing some freelance consulting, and then back into employment. And now I've started my own thing again. So it's sort of this circle in my life. But Marvel's the first thing really that was such a straightforward offering, and it was something that just clicked with people so quickly that it's been life-changing for me. And it's only been a few months. I started at the end of October. And it's been amazing so far.
That's awesome, man. You want to give a somewhat elevator pitch to the community?
Yeah.
A lot of them are their own blogs. A lot of them are actually pretty good at it. Like if you look at our newsletter, it's mostly like for us by us. So a lot of our content is from our members. So I would assume that a lot of them could use some lifts.
Yeah. I think writing is something that's similar to design. where kind of everyone has opinions on writing. Everyone has opinions on design, right? Like if you're a designer, your clients are always saying like, hey, make the logo bigger, change the color, round the corners. It's because everybody has an opinion on it, even if they're not an expert. Whereas most people don't have opinions on electrical engineering if they don't really have any experience with it. Writing is very similar. So most people have opinions on what makes writing good, and there are some things that are very objective with that, but then there are a lot of things that are just opinions on what makes writing good. At the end of the day, even if you're writing your own content, even if you have time to write your own content, then that's something that's taking a lot of time away from your other important, critical activities that you should be doing as a founder or as an early team. Marvel just writes blogs for you. We do SEO, search analysis. We do topic generation, and we actually write the content, and on annual plans we even publish for you. So we're just trying to take as much of that content creation process when it comes to blogs off of founders and early teams' hands, and just have a process for creating good content for you and building SEO.
That's really, really cool. So for you all, to get a little bit more detail, do you all have like teams who are doing this, or is it a ton of AI? Like, how does it work? Like, if our users or Confluence members were to join you all?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. So the idea from the start was to use more and more AI over time without it really being noticeable, but start with just humans. So I have full-time writers that are just part of the team. They're amazing. That's one of our, like, early on, I knew that was going to be a difference between us and other companies that do this as kind of a blogging productized service. A lot of these companies have this network of freelancers, and you end up with this mishmash of different like writing talent and people that are good in different areas. And so you don't really get, when you give feedback, it doesn't really carry over to your next articles or your next month that you pay for. And so for us, it's like, your feedback is going to the same person. There's a lot of communication back and forth on articles and revisions, and you have a relationship there with your writer. And so I forgot what the original question was, but
No, I think that's perfect. I think that's perfect. It reminds me of a lot of there's like these executive assistant startups that have been popping up, and effectively they'll use like a B2B version of like a Calendly kind of thing. But the truth is, you have an awesome executive assistant who will answer all your questions. You get to know them well. But in this, it's like that plus like an incredibly difficult skill, like sitting down and writing and like truly bringing value to people who are arguably as smart as you, if not smarter, like at least in our group of people. That's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, right. So to go back to the question, I remember where this all started. AI, we hope to use more over time, but right now it's mostly for like generation of ideas. Make sure there's no none of our writers have this sort of blank page syndrome where you don't know where to start with an article. But really all of the content, you need some, most businesses want to connect with their potential users, or site visitors, any reader of your blog. You want your content to be understandable, to be enjoyable, to be engaging. And so right now AI just isn't there, but we hope over time, you wouldn't even be able to tell. Maybe quality even gets better over time, but more of that happens with the AI. But yeah, you said it exactly right. I think you can't fake content. Google also, like, to be able to rank, they're focusing more and more on quality of content, the amount of time people are spending on your articles. Do they go to other articles or go to your main site after reading? All of this is to help like gauge how good your content really is. Is this just like a keyword dump to try to rank on Google, or is your content actually helpful? And so everything's focused on quality at this point, which really is the way it has to be. And Google realized that a while back. So like you can't fake it, and you can't really like, I think our service is fairly affordable. Maybe not for everybody, but for most businesses it's fairly affordable. But you could go out and pay somebody $50 for an article, but then you just end up with, usually it's like either just a keyword dump where it's not really good content, or it's like under researched, or there's just so many errors, or a lot of grammar mistakes. So you pay for what you get, and right now helpfulness is the key.
I made that mistake, so can personally vouch.
I've been there too. I've been there.
Worth it. It's like
Clay's a big fan of paying for what we get. He's not he's not as conservative as some.
I mean, like we tried out Fiverr, and yeah, I don't know, just like everything you were just saying about some of the issues with finding quality writers was resonating with me, because we had the same issue there.
It's tough, and then you end up spending like as much time managing these writers as you would have just writing it yourself. And so
that was the biggest issue. It's just like, I'll pay you money, but like I just don't want to do it. Like that's I don't want to like then edit, revise, send it back. Like I don't know, it's just not worth it. So
that's the whole thing. And for us, maybe the first month it doesn't quite hit maybe the tone that you wanted, or something, and then we revise it. Well, the next month we already know that we've got that dialed in. It's the same writer that's got that feedback from you. And so like the goal for us, and this is part of why in our annual plan we'll publish for you, is like the goal for us is for you to not worry. You just know it's going to be good every time. You're not going to have to stress about it. You just know your SEO is building over time, and SEO is a long-term play, so like it is this kind of slow burn. So if you're spending a lot of your time on it and not seeing results, it's easy to get antsy. But when you just know you're going to have quality content every month over time, like it's a lot better of a feeling to build that up for your business.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good foray into the next question, which is for those who haven't started their own blog, why do you think it's so important for them to do it? So like SEO discoverability, like what are some of the other reasons, and what are some of the actual impacts you've seen from some of your customers? Or like, I know for us, our business is literally built on it. So I would love to see how your customer base has been thinking about it, or what you've seen.
Yeah, so there's a few things that are really cool about our model. We kind of front load search analysis and like a content strategy at the beginning when we work with people. So if you don't already have some sort of a content strategy, there's a spectrum of businesses, right? So we work with some businesses that are like, oh, here are our content pillars, and here's like 100 ideas that we already have. We've spent a ton of time on this. We just need the writing done. And there's other people who are like, I haven't thought about this for a second. We're too early, but I know I need to start on this. And so part of what's cool is we'll actually work with you on that, do some search analysis, come up with a somewhat repeatable content strategy where you're not coming up with new ideas and topics, but you have like kind of a theme that you're writing on, so that over time where your topics will land, and you'll know what kind of keywords you're building up. So I would say that for a founder, all of this unknown, I think most people know, if I want to rank better on Google, I need a blog. I need some sort of a content strategy. I have no idea where to start. Even if I do know where to start, I just don't have time to spend on that. And I don't necessarily know what's going to work for my business. So what we've seen is, founders who know nothing about SEO, nothing about keyword research, they don't subscribe to any of the tools that they would need. They don't know how to measure impact. Maybe there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that, and so a lot of founders are like heavily involved in product and customer support, and they just have too many things going on. And so we've seen on both sides, both like articles that are shareable that can bring in immediate traffic, and on the side of SEO starting to build up. Granted, we're pretty early. Like I said, we're like 3 months in. Most articles take 3 to 8 months to really start hitting their stride and rank. So talking about like impact, it's mostly been early impact. Founders, like when you see good content, you pretty much know it's good content, and that it'll do pretty well as long as there's obvious keywords that you'll rank for. So we're just now starting to see more impact on search results, but it's still pretty early there. That's one of our next goals, by the way, is to write case studies and get more testimonials of real numbers and impact here. But it's like this 3 to 8 month zone is where a lot of that's going to start happening for us.
Yeah, we'd be happy to be one.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that.
For your customer base, or just generally for startups, content creators, etc., how do you think about blog content living on the website? Like, I know Clay spoke about some people worrying about navigation being sacrificed. as they layer on more and more components and pages to their websites? How do you think about it? Like, what's the proper strategy there?
Yeah, if you think about
for this, we were like, just for more context, like I was just looking at your website. Like the reason we signed up so quickly is like it was so easy to navigate. It's literally like 3 buttons, they all had the same call to action, and the call to action was like sign up to be a customer, and you had the cool calculator piece. I like that.
Thank
But like adding more layers to that, it would help with discoverability, but then navigation is sacrificed. At least that's how I'm thinking about it. But curious to get your thoughts.
most people will link to their blog in the footer. I wouldn't make it. I would usually not recommend making it in your main navigation. I think you're right to think about, you want to, with a landing page, you know, with that first page, somebody hits your homepage or your website, you want to have a pretty good idea of where that's going to lead people, at least the majority of people. So as soon as you add a blog link to the top of your site, you're going to start funneling people into content, which this is actually usually the exact opposite of the funnel you want. Usually you want to rank on Google and other search engines, and then you want that traffic of somebody just hitting, you know, they type in something that's high intent search for your business. If I'm selling ice cream and somebody's searching like what's the best ice cream in Nashville, then like hopefully I come up, right? And with local businesses that can be a little more complicated because there's like Google My Business, but then along with that you just have people ranking for these articles, and that helps bring up your search. So if I go to an article that says you know, top 10 ice cream places in Nashville, and I actually wrote that as my business, and like mine is maybe the first one on there, then all of a sudden they go from reading my article then to my site. And that's always the goal. It's like read the article, maybe go to another article, and I'm still building this rapport with whoever's reading, and then they go to my site, and then they hit a call to action. So I don't usually want to lead people away from my site into my content. It's usually like the content is the net that brings them into my site. So I wouldn't ever make it like a very primary navigation, but it's helpful for it to go in the footer of your site so that it's still like a link to the site, which helps with just sitemaps and making sure all your content's linked.
Yeah, that's really smart. Never thought about it like that, but totally see what you're saying. It's like, especially with the funnel piece, like goal of site visitors is convert those to customers, not to redirect them and get them distracted. Like,
yeah, you've already done like, they're either already customers or they have an intent to like see what you're already up to.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the opposite of what you're looking to do.
Yeah, it's good advice.
Last time you caught it with Clay, I heard that you all were just experiencing way too much demand, which is a startup problem that very how's that going? And what's the bottleneck you're seeing today? And how are you thinking of overcoming that to continue scaling?
Yeah. So I've taken like 2 weeks off of marketing. Most of my marketing happens through Twitter. I haven't tweeted for 2 weeks. It's a dual thing. I've had me and my family, we've all kind of like been going through COVID, so that's been hard. But then at the same time, I was like, I'm just going to take a break from growth. We're just going to focus on solving, like you said, you know, there's bottlenecks in the business and still processes that we have to nail down to really be able to keep scaling. So, yeah, what I'd say really is my own time is the biggest bottleneck in the business. It's been difficult for me to find the right people to handle certain things that I do. So like adding images to articles has been me. Doing initial search analysis, SEO has been just me. I'm like the primary editor for most content. So even just, I mean, imagine reading 200 articles a month, like with the mindset of what do I have to change? What do I have to do? And then even, you know, often making those changes myself because it's just faster because I'm in there. So like the load right now for me is huge. So I've been starting to work on hiring both in-house and some contractors to handle some of these things that are kind of secondary pieces of the business while keeping most of the writing in-house. That's difficult. It's really hard to replace myself for things that I feel like I'm naturally pretty good at. And so that's my biggest struggle right now, is like finding the right people to handle the jobs. And there's like a good amount of burning cash while I'm looking for the right people, because I need to, you know, I'm like, when I hire a contractor, I'm like, I'll try 5, maybe one of them feels good enough, and then a week later it turns out they're not good enough, and then I go back and I try 5 or 10 more. And so that process of finding the right contractors is painful. But at the stage we're at right now, I can't hire full time for every single thing I need done. And so the real vision for the company is like, I need to hire a full-time editor. This is like a critical role that I don't have right now. I need more writers, but like I need to hire an editor before I hire a bunch more writers, but I won't hit like the best level of profitability until I have enough writers under that editor. So organizationally, I'm like trying to figure out how to solve for bottlenecks while trying to worry less about optimizing like the net revenue that's coming in, and just make sure like we have enough cash flow to be paying for building out the organization a bit more.
Yeah, I think we've had problems ourselves figuring out like how to delegate properly or bring people into the fold. But then like as a founder, even as investors, you learn really quickly that if you can't delegate or if you can't hire properly, then you can't scale. It's impossible. So whether you figure that out, and having money in cash definitely makes a difference. So hopefully you all unlock that demand, and even more so, maybe some people in Confluence can just give you the check to make that happen.
Yeah.
So next question, before I say like tell investors what you want or something like that. A lot of the startup world is romanticized, right? What do you think about the startup world sucks?
Yeah, so I would say that there's a lot of people chase this moment where you have something that hits product market fit and you imagine that there's going to be that it's going to change your life and that it's going to be easy from there on out. I think that that's something that I hear a lot is like, man, I just feel like I've tried so many things. And at some point people just talk like at some point you just hit your success. You know, it's like if you throw enough darts at the board, like eventually you're going to have one that works. It's just a numbers game. But it's not that simple. I would say that this is my most successful, like cash flowing, you know, it has like a decent market fit sort of business. And it's probably the most emotional turmoil that I've ever felt. It's probably like the most difficult that it's ever been for me. Just because, you know, it feels like I'm spinning I'm spinning so many plates, and I have to do that. Like as a founder, often you have to do that to get to a point where you can replace yourself in different ways and keep scaling the business. And so right now it's really painful. Every day feels painful because I'm stretched so much, and there's a lot of anxiety around like what my customers are thinking and what the next steps are and how I can free up my time. And, you know, I have a young family, I've got 2 kids and a wife. And so for me, it's like balancing that has been difficult. And it feels like I'm failing on one side or the other, right? So all of this life balance stuff, success having like a lot of emotional hardship also with it. I think all of this is overlooked often.
Got it. What is at this point, what is something that would be really, really helpful for you if someone in our community could solve? Like what would make it suck a little bit less?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I have 2 ways of solving my problems right now. Like my problems are all organizational. It's all based on like I need people to fill certain roles. And so like either I need to keep having a hard life for a while until I can scale the business enough to like to have the organization in place, or I need to raise some money and you know, just pay up front for some of this organizational structure that I need just to fulfill and have happy customers. I think in either scenario also, like I need to hire the right people. So having people in my pipeline that I could trust, and then just solving the kind of cash flow and organizational problems. These are where my brain's at right now.
Got you. Last thing is, are there any types of investors that you want to meet through Confluence, or are you just not interested ever? Are you gonna? How does that feel? Are you open to people reaching out to you from this, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very open-minded to any way that I can solve my problems. So I think that like I'm really strong in this indie hacker sort of community, and in that space, there are a lot of people that are against raising money. I've done it before. I think last time I raised from a mix of people, and some of which I wouldn't raise from again, just because of having too many demands without taking the time to really understand the business. So I would be looking for people that are happy to give advice and are helpful, but probably more in the way of like connecting me with other helpful people, continuing my network, and less on the side of like wanting to tell me how to run the day-to-day business. That's where it gets difficult for me. It's like when there's too much demand on, like when it becomes just another big responsibility for me to manage their expectations and stuff on top of managing like the core business. And I have a lot of ideas for already how we're going to scale and change distribution and grow over time. So I just need the right people to be resources. And so I think personality and like culture fit for me matters more than just people throwing money at it.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no one wants commodity money. I'm lying.
Right.
A lot of people want commodity money, but
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've been one of those people at some point, right?
but I mean, if you're good at what you do, having actual helpful people who aren't interrupting your business is great. So investors, please hear that, and if you come through us, don't make us look bad.
That's right. Yeah.
With that, Clay, you want to take us out with some rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do it. So, Dustin, we got these quick fire questions. It's 5 questions meant to be answered in 2 sentences or less. First one is, what's the best work purchase you've made in the last 12 months?
Best work purchase. I outsourced design for my business to Brett from Design Joy. He's amazing. It was like $2,500 a month, and he ended up building out like all of my designs that were in my head for just a billion projects in a few months. Amazing.
Shout out him. I mean, I like the design on y'all's website a lot. The gradient background, very aesthetic. Like it.
Yeah, so Marvel was originally like designed by Brett from Design Joy, but it was for a different business. So I like repurposed this whole brand. But yeah, he killed it. I love it.
100%. What's a recommendation you hear regularly that you think is bad advice?
This is a bit of a cop-out answer, but I'd say that looking too hard at other businesses and what they've done is often a mistake. I think anybody who's pushing their advice is the only way. Usually I wouldn't listen to that, because everybody comes to success in a different way. And we're often looking just at these big examples of success and not looking at the people who have done it, the 100 other ways that are possible.
100%. 100%. In the last year, what new belief, behavior, habit has most improved your life?
Biggest thing for me is something that came from Atomic Habits, which is this idea of just making the good things in your life more like easier to do. So like if I don't have a water bottle on my desk, then I'll never drink water. So I know I have to prep that in my day. And that's true with most things in my life. I just have to make the good choices easy.
Dude, I do the same thing with water. I literally have to like track it out and give marks of like how many cups of water I drink.
Oh yeah, see, this guy's got all my, you can't see it that well, but the one I'm holding right now has got marks on it for like how much I'm drinking. It's 50-ounce bottle, so I know it like twice a day, and I'm pretty good.
Yeah, for a while I just didn't do that, and I don't know. My mom did that to a more extreme extent. This woman had like 12 kidney stones, and I do not want to do that. So now I just drink a ton of water every day. Last question we got. No, sorry, we got 2 more. So what's one piece of advice you'd give someone starting a company?
Yeah, as early as possible, I'd surround myself with people that are already doing what you want to be doing. For me, that's been like startup indie hacker Twitter. These are people that I really respect. There's tons of people, and it's easy to connect with them and ask real questions and engage. I wish I'd done that earlier. It's only been about a year of me doing that here, but it's changed my life.
Yeah. Have you met a lot of indie hackers in Nashville?
Not in person yet. I mean, I only moved here in August, but I have some plans to meet some people around here.
Yeah, absolutely. Last one we've got, if you had one ask for our listeners, what would it be?
I'd say really like the easiest thing is just go follow me on Twitter at Terrible Dustin. You can follow the journey. I'm pretty transparent about how things are going.
Sounds good, man. I mean, we'll also plug your business and say you guys should have customers.
Go sign up. I mean, I'm not sad if you sign up, but
yeah.
I got one more. I want or one thing for us is enabling more and more founders. Are there any founders that you think would be a solid fit here for the Confluence podcast? Like maybe the folks from Design Joy or like someone else. That'd be great. Everything should be for the community, by the community. So we trust your opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. Brett from Design Joy, he's still a one-man band and has grown his business to like almost 100,000 a month in revenue. Productized service. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. You got to go check it out. He talks pretty openly also about it. He's incredible. He's balancing a lot of stuff. Last time I talked to him, he also had a day job that he was balancing all of this at the same time. So it's an amazing case of what a productized service can be, and part of what inspired me to really start my own.
Looking at their website right now.
It's pretty hot. I'm looking
at
it.
His design's amazing. Really, like the reason that he's grown so fast is his design just speaks for himself. And instead of going through this entire process of design that you typically see, where it's like wireframes and rough drafts and ideation, he just goes straight to a high fidelity mock-up of it that's like exactly how you would want the design. And if it doesn't hit, he'll revise it. And so you know exactly what you're getting like immediately with it. It's such a good experience.
ASAP. One, for this podcast, because that revenue number monthly is incredible. And two, because I'm going to use him immediately.
Yeah, 100% worth it.
Like, we should get him to do our new Confluence website. I'll pay for it. This is great.
Yeah, it looks sweet.
It's so good. Honestly, I did it for like 3 or 4 months, and I had this huge backlog of like ideas, and he just made it all come to life. And so I have like 10 different Figma files with high fidelity prototypes, like exactly the way I would want to have it, finalized. Yeah, and it's just amazing.
Pretty sick little business.
Yeah, I can't believe I keep like, as soon as I was using it, I was like, I wish I was involved in this business because it's so good. Yeah. The revenue numbers are amazing. And I'm like, you could find people to like help scale this and like to train designers the right way to help scale this with you, but he just hasn't done it yet. I think he has a lot of fear that a lot of us feel like with a service where you're doing most of it. It's like nobody else can do it the way that I do it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it's a dilemma. I mean, yeah, one way or another, I feel like he's kind of figured it out. Like $100K a month is not a small amount of money.
Yeah, it's no joke.
That's a side project.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. Well, cool, man. I think that wraps it up for questions for us. This has been sick. We will clean this up and shoot it back to you just so you have a chance to review it before we go live with anything.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, dude, thanks so much again for saying yes.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is great.
All right, well, dude, sending love to you. Thank you so much. And we're excited to get this out to the community.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. And we'll be in touch on content as a customer.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks so much. Talk to him.
Later.
Bye.
Huge thanks again to Dustin for coming on this week, and we hope that each of you were able to pick up something valuable from this talk. If you're looking to get in touch with Dustin, we've linked his social info in the description below. You can also find out more about Marvel at their website, which is marvel.so. For next steps, if each of you have not submitted your info to become a member yet, you can do that through our website at www.Confluence.VC. And also, if you want to become a subscriber to the newsletter, we offer a ton of free resources in there each and every week meant to help you become better at your individual roles. You can subscribe there at www.confluence.substack.com. Hope that helps. Hope to hear from y'all soon.